So welcome. This is our April Adaptive Cloud Community Call. For those of you that haven't joined before, we do this every month, the first Wednesday of each month. I think this is our second one this year because we took a break during the January, February timeframe. But this call is focused on the Adaptive Cloud community, product and service updates. So products range from Azure Local to Azure Arc, Azure IoT, and AKS. I don't know how many folks will end up getting during this call because I think that there's a conflicting like IoT connected community call during this time, but that's totally okay because this call is also recorded. So this call is recorded and posted on our YouTube as well as our slide deck. Our slide deck is then posted to our GitHub. So I can go ahead and actually switch to this slide. This slide overviews our GitHub. There you can find all of the latest meeting recordings, links, all of the Adaptive Cloud resources. For this specific calendar invite, I highly recommend if you regularly attend this and sometimes you forget when the first Wednesday of each month is or what date we're actually having this call, you can go ahead and put a recurring.ics file on your calendar. And this will be, like I said, recurring. I don't think it has an expiration date, but it'll just be a good reminder for you to throw into your calendar so you don't forget the first Wednesday of each month that this call is going on. And it's the same time. We don't ever change the time. And if there are any updates, we post it in our Teams channel. Speaking of our Teams channel is also where we post regular updates. You can ask questions. If you haven't already, you can go ahead to our GitHub linked there and request to join. And once we get your request, I'll go ahead and add you, and then you can get access. If you don't have access to this chat for some reason or to the Q&A section, it's likely because your email is not registered as part of the Teams channel. So be sure to join that if you don't have access for some reason. As I was stating previously, our YouTube is existing, so you can watch all of the previous recordings from all of our previous calls. You can check out this recording as well. Thomas does a really good job of typically posting it, the day after or even the day of sometimes for the folks that haven't been able to join, or if you happen to miss. So we also have our LinkedIn group, acts kind of similar to our Teams channel, but there you can post your regular updates if you have anything to share. But yeah, feel free to go ahead, check out that link and request to join if you haven't already. I will go ahead and actually hand this over to Arnav to go ahead and talk about Microsoft GitOps updates, and then we'll jump into the Arc Jumpstart updates. So Arnav, you can go ahead and take control.
Great. Here, we'll go ahead and 1 second. I'm just trying to navigate forward. 1 second. Here we go. It's under more actions.
If not, I can put the slides for you too.
Oh, perfect. I just found take control. Okay, sorry about that. All right,
No
perfect.
worries.
All right, awesome. So hey folks, I'm Arnav, product manager from the Azure Arc team, and wanted to share some updates with respect to Microsoft GitOps. So you might be already familiar today, but we do have a Microsoft GitOps capability that is generally available, and that's through Microsoft Flux. And so what our GitOps experience really enables is ease of deployment across AKS and Arc-enabled Kubernetes clusters. So that's Kubernetes running outside of Azure. And with our GitOps offering, we really deliver this as a cluster extension that you can then templatize for ease of deployment across your disparate environments. And so that's our real key focus area there with our Microsoft GitOps offering. Moreover, what we have is because it's a cluster extension, we actually manage and automate all of the updates for you. So we're taking the upstream Flux project, contributing to it, and then we're managing the updates of that so you can use GitOps and configure GitOps centrally through Azure. Moreover, what we have is official supportability and enhanced integration from a security perspective with Azure Identity, Authentication, and RBAC. You'll notice that we have GitHub, ADO authentication, as well as workload identity integrations as well from an RBAC perspective, and you're able to actually file official support cases. And finally, we have the upstream contribution as well, where we have line of sight into that upstream project. And so that's a brief overview of our GitOps project, but really focus on customers that are trying to use GitOps like Flux for application deployment and configuration for their Kubernetes clusters, both Arc-enabled and AKS, consistently and in a managed experience across the board. What we're excited to announce, though, is actually a private preview. So up till this point, we've only supported Flux. And so we're actually announcing the private preview for our support for Argo CD. we know that Argo CD is an incredibly popular upstream GitOps project for our customers. And speaking with them, we've decided to go forward and introduce additional support for Argo CD. So we're going to continue to support Flux, but also give customers the flexibility of a managed GitOps experience through Microsoft for Argo CD, and again, across Arc-enabled Kubernetes and AKS clusters. And so for our private preview experience, we have a cluster extension supported across AKS and Arc-enabled Kubernetes. You're going to get managed and automated upgraded cluster extensions, and you're going to have official supportability and security as well. And soon, within the next 1 or 2 months, you're going to have native integration with the workload identity and single sign-on as well. So we have the same authentication capabilities as well as a managed experience for the Argo CD user interface, actually directly from Azure Portal, where you're able to kickstart that as well. But you're able to use this with the Argo UI today and use the cluster extension to at least configure Argo CD and manage its updates, as well as get official supportability. So this is the first iteration of that managed Microsoft Argo CD experience that we're offering. So this is in private preview state. If you're interested in signing up, we have the ak.ms link, ak.ms Microsoft GitOps preview sign up, as well as that QR code that you're able to quickly snap if you're interested in signing up for a private preview opportunity. You'll be able to engage with the product group, provide us feedback on how you're using GitOps, how you're finding the Argo CD experience, as well as areas where you want to see further prioritization, as well as roadmap investment. So with that, I'm going to actually go to the next slide, and I hope this one works. We're actually going to be doing a demo video of Argo CD that one of my colleagues has put together. So hopefully this is going to work for you all. Please let me know if there's any issues with the sound here. So I'll pass it over, and Jagpreet is going to be doing this demo, and this is a recorded demo just to keep in the timeline for our program. So here we go. Awesome. So with that demo, you saw how you can use this Argo CD cluster extension for application deployment and integration with the Argo user interface today, the Argo UI, and you can bootstrap that across your AKS and Arc-enabled Kubernetes clusters from a single place. And so that's what our private preview is focused on. But as I mentioned, there's a lot of enhancements with the Microsoft managed experience across authentication, Azure Portal integration from a user experience perspective, hub spoke model as well that we're planning to introduce, and supported integration into other AKS constructs like Fleet Manager, etc. So a lot coming up, exciting on our roadmap for Argo CD. In parallel, we're continuing to invest in Flux as well to really support our Microsoft GitOps customers. So with that, that's a wrap in terms of what we had. And again, if you want to sign up, that private preview link is ak.ms, Microsoft GitOps preview sign up, and we have that QR code as well for you all to join. Thank you so much. And with that, I'll hand back to Kiana. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Arnav. We usually do a Q&A at the end, and we'll, people come off mute. I know Arnav has to drop, so if anyone has any questions for Arnav now regarding anything that you've just seen, feel free to come off mute, raise your hand now, because he won't, I believe, won't be here at the end of this call. So anyone, any questions? If not, if you think of any, you can always post them in the chat and we'll try to get to them after. Arnav is obviously part of the chat, so we can get to it at a later time when he's back, but just figured I'd give everyone the chance if you did have any pending questions. Going once, going twice. Alrighty, so I'll go ahead and move to the ARC Jumpstart updates. So we've had our release notes that are regularly recurring. Lior does a great job of posting all the release updates for all of our products. You can find that on our actual Jumpstart website, but I wanted to go over and highlight some of the updates, especially from the community. So we've had 3 Jumpstart drops that have been submitted this past month in just the month of March. So congrats to all. I don't know if those folks are on this call, but huge thanks to everyone that has been contributing. I know that there are other folks that I've reached out to that I've been seeing on LinkedIn for people that have been creating some cool scripts that I've seen. So if you have any questions regarding the Jumpstart Drops process, feel free to reach out. I actually might just go ahead and share my screen right now and kind of take you through the flow of that, just because I feel like some folks have had some questions regarding how to actually contribute to Jumpstart Drops. In addition, there's been a few bugs reported from our side as part of our website updates that we have. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here. Let's see if this is going to be the correct. Let me see. Is this sharing my screen? I can't see this from my side. Yes, it seems like it is. So anyway, if you aren't able to see my screen, just let me know in the chat because I have that up on the side. This is our Jumpstart Drops guidelines. You can get to here by going through community, contribute, and then to the Jumpstart Drops contribution guidelines. And here it really takes you through how to manually create a GitHub or to manually create a Jumpstart Drop, as well as going through the Jumpstart Drop creation wizard. I do want to point out currently that there is a bug in the Jumpstart Drops creation wizard. A few of you have reached out to me. We've made note. We're well aware. We're working on fixing the issue right now. So my recommendation for you all that are looking to contribute to Jumpstart Drops is just using the manual approach with a GitHub pull request. And we have all of the instructions there outlined. If you want to do that through our GitHub repository, that's totally fine. And if you want to manage it through there, that's great. But I know for a lot of folks that if you already have a pre-existing public repository, we also can leverage that as well. So all you would need to do essentially is leverage the JSON schema that is meant for Jumpstart Drops, and that's all documented and outlined here. This link was found again on our Jumpstart Drops contribution guidelines, but you just need to basically fill out this drop schema and then link to your own source. So if you have, like I was saying, a public repository, you would just link that here and then fill out all of the specific details. And then once done, then you can go ahead and then create a PR for merging to our Canary branch in our Jumpstart Drops repository. I do want to point out to make sure to merge to Canary. Otherwise, we're going to have to close the PR and you'll have to reopen a new one. Some folks have been trying to merge to main, but our Canary is our test environment. And then once everything's verified from our end, then we'll go ahead and merge to main. But we just like to do pre-verifications before putting it into production. But as I was stating before, all of that, all of the processes for that can be found in our Jumpstart Drops contribution guidelines. For those of you that aren't familiar with the wizard, so if you go to Jumpstart Drops, the wizard that I'm talking about that currently has a bug right now is in this. So if you go to actually click create a drop, it will take you through the entire flow. And then at the end, you'll find that it'll come up with some error. Like I said, right now, we're working through the logistics of getting that bug resolved. So recommendation, as stated previously, is to go through the manual method, but just as an FYI to everyone. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing and then reshare the PowerPoint deck. Okay. So yeah, these are the three contributions that we've had this past March. We're always looking for more, always loving, to see the community engaged with the Jumpstart community and the Adaptive Cloud community. So feel free. Shout out also to Thomas, who's been getting the Jumpstart badges still hyped up, basically. So once you do submit a Jumpstart drop, you are eligible for the first phase, I guess, of the Jumpstart Drops badge. The more obviously you contribute, the more Jumpstart Drops badges you get. So just wanted to call that out as well. We've also had 6 actually Jumpstart Lightning videos. You can check them out on our YouTube page. There, the aka.ms link that you see there is specific for Jumpstart Lightning, but in that YouTube channel, so the ARC Jumpstart YouTube channel is where you can also find all of the recordings for this call. So if you have, any interest in checking out what we did last month or last year, all of the recordings can be found there. But for Jumpstart Lightning in particular, we've had 6 different videos that have been posted. So feel free to check those out. I like to think of them as almost podcasts with video. Some people, part of the Jumpstart Lightning series is live demos. So people love the live demos. But in terms of the introductions, I always like to think of it as a very podcast style episode. It's just, two tech guys talking together. And it's super, super fun always. So highly recommend checking that out whenever you have free time. But jumping over to the Jumpstart Gem side, there have been 8 new diagrams as well as 18 updated diagrams, and all of that can be found in our release notes. Again, like I said, I'll link that here in the next slide. But if you wanted to go and download those, you can now download those at the aka.ms link there, and check out, all of the new things. So in terms of other updates, we have also had the Jumpstart Agora Contoso Motors V2 release. The lead for that was not able to join today, so he was actually going to join next month to give more context and more details. But if you do want to check that out yourself now, we have the tech community blog linked there. There have also been some other updates to HCI Box, now rebranded, so more news to come for that. But then we've also had some other updates for bug fixes for ArcBox, HCI Box, Agora. We've also been deprecating some scenarios. So as part of the MVP community that summit that was, I believe, last week or a week or 2 ago, some folks were asking about some of our scenarios and why they are no longer available. So in our release notes, you can find some of the deprecated scenarios that we've been doing throughout the past few months almost. At this point, we're looking to offboard some of those and create them then into Jumpstart drops. So it's kind of a longer process right now. Some of them have also had product updates or release updates that we haven't, or that hasn't been accounted for. So we're starting to deprecate some of those so that we can create new and updated content for you all. But just so you all are aware, if you aren't seeing, any specific documentation on things that you used to see for scenarios, that's why. But like I said, all of that can be found in the ARC Jumpstart release notes. So you can check out that link there at the bottom left-hand side for everything that's kind of outlined that I went over today. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat. Feel free to reach out to me. More than happy to, point you in the right direction or answer anything that you might have. But without further ado, I will actually go ahead and hand it over to Anushka and Summer to talk about AKS Edge Essentials updates.
Awesome. Thanks, Kiana. Okay. So as Kiana mentioned, Anushka and I are going to go over some of the exciting new things that were in the latest AKS Edge Essentials release, which came out about 3 weeks ago. So AKS Edge Essentials is one of our lightweight Kubernetes distribution solutions to allow customers to run Kubernetes on the edge. It includes Kubernetes and K3S, and our last release, as I mentioned, was about 3 weeks ago. So in that release, we have support for 1.29 and 1.30, both K8s and K3S. For the 1.29 option, that'll just be for customers upgrading from the last November release to this release. And if you're doing a fresh install, you'll want to install 1.30. We also have some exciting new kind of features and previews, which includes secrets encryption of AKS Edge Essentials using the KMS plugin. And so this allows our customers to kind of follow the Kubernetes best practices. and encrypt your Kubernetes secret store. The second is Key Manager for Kubernetes. So this Key Manager is an Azure Arc extension that automates the rotation of the signing key used to issue your service account tokens. And then the final change is a way to kind of make the AKS Edge Essentials install process even simpler than it is. So we're working to combine the two steps of deployment and Arc connection for AKS Edge Essentials clusters. So now if you include your Arc parameters in your deployment config file, when you install AKS Edge Essentials, deploy your cluster, it will automatically connect to Azure Arc. With this latest release, adding those parameters isn't required. You can still deploy AKS Edge Essentials the same way you have in the past. But with the next release, if you don't include your Azure Arc parameters in the config file, you will get an error. So we're doing this in a multi-stage process to kind of ease that experience. But starting with the next release, which will be in a couple months, you will need to include those parameters in your config file. This does not impact offline deployments. So AKS Edge Essentials has a feature where customers can install completely offline. That is separate from this. If you are doing offline installments, you can ignore this change. It doesn't impact you. We're not taking that feature away. But for those of you who are doing connected deployments of AKS Edge Essentials, those two steps are now combined into one. You can find more information on kind of all of these things through any of the links on the right. The What's New article will link you to specific docs for each of the previews in this release. And I'm going to hand it over now to Anushka to talk more about KMS.
Okay, thank you so much, Summer. So yeah, I'll talk a little bit about KMS plugin for AKS EE, essentially. So this plugin basically enables encryption at rest for secrets that are stored in that etcd key value store. So how does it kind of work? So for example, if you have a workload X, like as per the diagram, running on an AKS EE cluster, and you want to store secrets in the etcd, which is essentially the secret store for Kubernetes, then the KMS plugin will go and kind of encrypt all those secrets. And how exactly is that KMS plugin encrypting those secrets? So a etcd secret is pretty much going to be encrypted with a unique data encryption key, which itself is then going to be encrypted using a key encryption key. And then this key encryption key is going to be stored in a secured location. So this essentially is the envelope encryption, where the data encryption key is then protected by that key encryption key. And so through this process, the etcd is protected from at-rest cluster compromises. So the key features that we're kind of bringing forth with this KMS plugin is that it's fully offline capable. So cloud or network connectivity is not required for etcd encryption. The second is runtime protection. So root encryption keys or data encryption keys are safely protected in an independent key protection process. So that's essentially the envelope encryption that I talked about earlier. And it also offers at-rest protection. So your root encryption keys or data encryption keys are never stored unencrypted. So a little bit more about how this kind of works. So authorized KMS processes are essentially able to encrypt and decrypt the data by using this KEK. And this KEK or key encryption key is automatically rotated without any user interaction every 30 days. So this KMS plugin feature is available for all single node deployments. And currently it's a preview feature, so you do need to go and enable it on initial deployment through that AKS EE config file. But once it is going to go general availability pretty soon, and it'll be enabled by default at that point, and it's going to provide that zero-touch provisioning experience to the customers then. And so if you want to find out a little bit more about how this works and how to deploy it, you can check out the link in the resources. It has some more information there. So with that, I'll pretty much hand it back to Kiana.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So yeah, thanks everyone for attending today. I know that the agenda was a little bit on the lighter side, but no worries. Some folks were just not able to attend at this time. We had some conflicts with the IoT Connected Community call as well. So just so you know, the next call will be May 7th. So feel free to join, as always, the first Wednesday of each month. But now I will go ahead and open up the floor for everyone for Q&A. If you have any questions for Anushka, for Summer, like I said, Arnav has dropped off. But if you do have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat or come off mute and we can maybe answer them. Yeah, go ahead, Hua.
There. I'm looking at on the proof of concept. The idea is to be able to run the workload on a microcontroller, so very low power device. Looking at the service from Azure, we've got IoT Hub and Edge and IoT Operation. All of them require to run container of some kind. Any advice on how do we manage kind of an IoT device that very low power?
I am not sure. Thomas, is that a question that you can take? I don't know if Thomas.
So what are you like? What specific hardware are you looking at? Like you said, low power device. What the device like? For example, what is that?
Yeah, so like MP, I can send one or two here as an example here. MP34330. Well, give me a second. For example, MPS 430 controller. So I'll just drop in the chat here.
So it's a very
Very low power. So in terms of kind of a power is less than a Raspberry Pi. So
yeah.
So do we have any kind of a solution that handle it? So just a bit of context. These devices are powered by battery. They got a SIM card on them, so they can do some transmission. But the battery, because of the position, so basically they are sensor in the basically a massive oil pipe. They have 7-year battery on them, but they want to maximize the longevity of the battery and the use of this device. At the moment, there's some sensor that they use on the edge, and based on some condition, they send the data to Azure to then do the inferencing. But what they found is because of the false positive on the edge, we're sending a lot of data to the Azure, and then become the battery then basically get used more. So they're saying, well, okay, can we do inferencing on the edge on this sort of device? So then we reduce the false positive on the edge before sending it to Azure. So that's the idea. Not necessarily this device. So the question is, well, okay, if we can't use this microcontroller of this low device, what do you suggest in terms of what sort of device that you can run on that scenario?
I mean, what we have seen customers doing is usually when we talk about things like this is where, for example, right now Azure IoT Operation comes into place. Obviously, this cannot run directly right now on a device like this, right? So you would basically send that data to a local Azure IoT Operations instance, and that will then do these changes and basically send the information which you need or the data you want to have into the cloud. Now we maybe need to look at like other options for this, so you can ping me offline for this and we will have a look at this. But in general, like for example, because it's a very low powered device, right, there's not a chance you can run something like that on top of it. So what we have seen is like where I worked with customers where they have multiples of these on one location, and they want to basically like they gather that centralized on Azure IoT Operations instance, and from there basically does do that. But yeah, let's talk about this offline a little bit more in detail, because I want to understand a little bit more how this works.
I appreciate that. I'll reach out. Thank you.
Dale?
Dale.
Hey, yeah,
maybe
this this is maybe just a call for help because I have some partners that have, I guess, legacy Stack Hub customers that are kind of looking for someone at Microsoft that can provide context around supporting Stack Hub for these legacy customers. And I wasn't really sure who to ask or if there's someone on this call that can point me to someone. I know a lot of the folks that I've used that have formerly worked with are on things like Azure Local now, and so I'm not sure if they're still related to the Hub product at all. And these are mostly ISV partners that are supporting specific customers that have Hub, and they're trying to ensure that their upgrades to their ISV products are going to work, continue to work with Stack Hub. So that's what I'm looking for, is just anyone that has any insight there.
Are you familiar with Tibaroo? Tibby?
No, what is that?
I will. He is our hub PM. I will send you his contact information. He's
Okay,
who
it's
I
a
would start
person. My
with.
bad. Yeah, apologies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sounds good. I think what I'll ask of him is if he could join a call with this partner. That would be great. If not, then yeah, I'll work it out with him. Thank you for that.
Awesome. Any other questions for anyone? If not, then I can go ahead and close out this call going once. I'm still some people like to come off mute the last minute, so I always like to wait a few seconds. But if not, we can go ahead and flip then to our final slide. So thank you everyone for attending today. Feel free to connect with us through our GitHub. This slide deck will be posted and put on our GitHub by end of day today. We'll post the recording to our YouTube page. If you have any feedback or any topics that you would like to be covered in our next call or future calls, feel free to submit feedback there. We love to hear from you all to see what topics are most important to you and what you would like to see discussed. So thanks everyone for joining today, and I will see you all in May.